So hey guys, today we're back out here working on this 84 944. So James is over here cutting all the rust out of the white 944's floorboard. Over here you can see where he's cut the part out of this white 924S that we're going to be using. So already has this nice replacement piece cut out now. And he's cutting a section out so that way we can fit it in there.
Like a fucking glove, dude. Bam.
Let me get the inside here. Really nice here, really nice.
Bam.
Alright, so James has this all welded up now and it looks really nice. He had to grind some of this back here so that way he could weld, but we left everything original and intact underneath here so it shouldn't rust again. Once I get this rust off here, I'm going to prime it and put the original undercoating back over this. Now that James has his driver's side all welded up, he's over here patching a few holes on the passenger side, and he needs to weld slowly so that way he doesn't warp the metal. Alright, so we got the hatch opened up now, and the ignition switch key doesn't work here, so we'll probably end up having to rekey this. I ended up having to climb in the trunk and then turn this here and have Luke wiggle on the hatch as I lift it up on it. So anyway, what I want to do is get these side markers out now so we can see what's going on behind them and have James weld them up. Alright, so here's what we've got going on back here. You can see that there's two nuts we'll have to remove, and someone's got some goop on here. But I'll go ahead and get these lights out and we'll see what the other side looks like. Alright, I've got the nuts off now, so we're about to see what's lurking back here. It's alright, I don't guess it looks too bad in here. I imagined it was going to be much worse, but the holes are actually straight and neatly cut. But anyway, we'll get this cleaned up and James can get it welded up. So alright guys, here's a quick look at this white Euro 944. You can see I got the mirror off because we're getting ready to start body work on this car very soon. And it looks like there's a bunch of stuff in the back, but it's mostly just stuff that was in the front that we had to move to the back when we pulled the seats and the carpet. We had to weld in new floorboards, so we had to get a bunch of stuff out of the way. But anyway, I've had James out here today welding up these holes where the side marker was, and it looks great. I do need to tap it with the body hammer to flatten this back out. It kind of shrunk right there as he's welding, but once I get that done, it should be perfectly flat. Then I'll just put a skim coat of Bondo over that and it'll be like it was never there. Up here you can see where James welded in the new floorboard. We had to cut from all the way over here down this side, and then it comes back to about right there. This whole area was rusted out, and you can see I've got it sealed for the most part. I'm going to have to put another coat on there, and we had to leave that bare so that way we'd have a place to ground the welder. But anyway, it turned out really nice, and once I get it sealed up, then we're going to put some more of this original body coating back up underneath there, and again it'll be like it was never there. Alright, I got a few skim coats of Bondo on here to smooth it out where we welded. And up here everything's good to go, so I'm going to try and clean the fenders up today and get those back on. After a few skim coats of Bondo, I have this area up here looking pretty good, so I went ahead and put some self-etching primer up here, and later on I'll put some sealer over it to keep any moisture out. But for now, I still need to fix a few areas down here. You can see it looks pretty rough. And then over here where he welded this up, I need to go back and add the body line. Alright, I've got this side mostly finished up. You can see it's nice and straight. Also the lines look good. And I've started on this side over here. I just need to get it sanded now. So I've been working on this area here, and as you can see, it looks really good. I've also got some sealer on here now that's going to prevent any moisture from getting in there and causing any more rust. Down here, you may remember that we cut a lot of rust out, so we had a big hole. And so James got that welded up, and I did what I could with the metal as far as reshaping it, but I still needed to put just a skim coat of filler on this to make it look right. And I ended up losing this body line since I wanted this to be level with the body there. And so to get this line back, what I did was use a hacksaw blade and just remove the filler that was in there, and then I shaped it up with some sandpaper, and it looks perfect now. I've been working on this side as well. As you can see, I've got it mostly smoothed out now, and I've also got some sealer on it to prevent it from rusting, and I've got to do a little bit more touching up with this line here, but overall this is looking pretty good as well. Alright, while that primer is curing back there, I thought I'd go ahead and start putting the undercoating back on here. And what I have is some SEM heavy texture chip guard, and this looks exactly like what the factory used. Alright, so basically I'm going to be spraying this right around in this area where we repaired that hole, and I don't want to get it here or here where the fender butts up against the body. Alright, so I got a nice thick coat applied now, so I'll go ahead and remove the masking here, and we'll see if we can get the fender on. So before I put the fender back on, there's a few things that I want to do. First of all, I want to clean this up, and then I want to remove all the rust that's on the fender. Alright, so over here we have one of the fenders, and as you can see, there's a lot of rust where it butts up against the body. And so I'm going to take a wire wheel and remove all this rust and put some primer on it. I've got all the rust cleaned up now, so I'll go ahead and spray some primer on it. Alright, everything is sprayed with primer now, so I'm going to go ahead and clean the fender well. Alright, so I pretty much got the fender wells cleaned up now, and they look pretty good. As you can see, there's white paint underneath this black paint. From the factory, this car, since it's white, would have had white fender wells, so someone's come along and sprayed some black paint in here. And now that I have it cleaned up, what I'm going to do is make this look factory by reshooting it with white. I got the passenger side fender back on last night, so today I'll work on the driver's side. I have the chip guard sprayed on this side, so next I'll clean everything up so that way I can get the fender well cleaned up on this side. I have this side painted now, so next I'll get the fender back on. I have the fenders back on now, so next I'll start cleaning up this engine bay. Alright, I got the engine bay cleaned up now, and it looks so much better. Now originally what I was hoping to do was just sort of paint over this primer and feather it into the paint, but as you can see here, the paint's in really poor shape, so I'm going to have to reshoot this engine bay completely since I want it to look great before I put that engine back in here. So what I'm going to do is pull everything out of here, clean it up again, sand everything down, and we'll respray the entire engine bay. I'm here at the machine shop picking up the engine parts. Alright guys, I'm here at the machine shop today. See, I've got some parts here that have been bead blasted. So now I'm ready to take those over and have them plated. See, I've got a bucket here. That's probably about 30 pounds of bolts. And then here we have some miscellaneous parts, and here's the flywheels. I've got everything loaded up now, so here's a quick look at the engine parts. So in this box I have the pistons and the headers. And over here in this box I have a bunch of assorted parts. So I've got a bell housing here, and some cam towers, and some balance shaft covers as well. Alright, so here's the place where I get everything plated. Alright guys, I just picked these parts up from the plater, so let's start putting these engines back together. Alright, I went through and sorted some of these parts so it'd be easier to find everything. Alright, I now have this engine on the stand, and the first thing I need to do is get it cleaned up to remove any leftover residue from the cleaning process at the machine shop. Alright guys, I got this engine back together now, and next time we'll be reinstalling it. You haven't missed anything because I'm actually going to be making a dedicated video on how I reassembled this engine and giving you some tips in that video on how to rebuild your own engine. So today I've been out here doing a little bit of body work, and one of the things I need to do before I take this car to paint is remove the mirrors. And this is an early car, so it's a little bit different than removing the mirrors on a later car, but the first thing you want to do is get this glass out of the way so that way you can get in there and access the bolts that are behind here. And in order to remove the glass, you'll want to use a flat tip screwdriver. I'm going to be putting a piece of tape over it here just to keep anything from being scratched up. And there are 3 tabs holding the glass in, and they're located here, here, and here. So you're just going to gently pry on each corner, here, here, and right there, to remove the glass. And again, you just want to be gentle, and you don't want to push too hard on this mechanism here or you can break it. So just try and get your screwdriver in about right there. Make sure that you're actually on the black plastic, and once you get it about right there, you should see that there's a piece of metal in behind it, and that's what you're trying to separate the glass from. So again, you want to go over here and go to this corner here, and then this corner here, and that's about it. Of course, once you have the glass pulled out here, you can see the tabs holding it to this plate here. And then you're going to find 2 wires. That's for the heated mirror, and sometimes they come off easily. Other times you'll need to use your screwdriver and lift it off. And that's how you remove the glass. Next, I'm going to be removing this here. You're just going to need an 8mm to get in there and remove those screws. So you have a screw here, and a screw right there. Make sure you hold on to them because you will need them again. And then finally, this one here. Now that you have those 3 screws removed, you can just pull this off here, and then you're going to find a plug right here. And this is why you don't want to remove the mirror base first, because you're going to actually need to depin this before you can remove it. So, as you can see, this is where the wires need to go through, and they're not going to go through with this plug on there. So you're going to need a Molex depenner. I bought this one off Amazon for about $6, and it's pretty simple to use. You just find the right size, and you're just going to stick it in there and pop them out. But before we get there, what you're going to want to do is take a picture of this, if not several, so that way you put it back together exactly how it belongs. So there are a few reference points on here. You can see there's a slit there, or a groove, and another groove on this side here. So just want to make sure that when you put it back together, all the wires are exactly how they were when you took it apart, or else your mirror won't work. So just go around it and take lots of pictures. Note where the grooves are. Once you're satisfied, then you can start popping the wires out. Sometimes you have to push really hard to get them out. Feels like it got it, but it's really hard to tell. Yeah, got it. Okay. And the last one here. Yeah, once you have the plug removed, of course we'll be able to slip the wiring down in there without having to cut it. And now it's time to remove the mirror. So when you're looking at the mirror with it in its normal position, you're not going to see the screw that's holding it on. And you're going to turn it back just like I had it, and then you're going to see a 4mm hex head down in there, and you're just going to remove that. Once you have it loose, you can see that the base lifts right off, and then we'll just need to pull this wiring through that hole there. Won't be easy, but just be gentle. You don't want to pull any of those terminals off there. I'm not wanting to go all at the same time, and that's fine. So lift it up a little bit, grab one, pull them out individually if you have to. Once a few come out, they'll all come out. And there you go. That's how you remove a mirror on an early 944. So alright guys, we got all that rust cut out of this car and everything is looking great now. We've even got the body block sanded down now. So there's not very much left to do before we send this car to paint. So that's where we're going to pick up next time. You can see I've also got the engine bay repainted now, and next I need to clean up this firewall. I'm going to be replacing the aluminum that you see back there and also replacing some of these hoses. I want this engine bay to look as good as the engine that's going back in here. So you can see I've got a new expansion tank as well. But anyway guys, that's just about going to do it for this video. If you'd like to stay up to date with some of the projects we're working on around the shop, be sure to join us on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description below. I'd also like to thank everyone who supports this channel on Patreon, since these videos would not be possible without you. But anyway guys, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next year.